Hello and welcome back to my channel, Young Black Social Worker, the place where I talk about all things related to social work, and to my series, Daily Dilemmas for Social Workers, where we unpack your dilemmas. If you haven't already, please do make sure that you like, that you comment, and that you subscribe to this channel, and just let me know what your general feedback is around these series and these dilemmas that I've been unpacking with you. If you have any that you want me to talk about, then please do let me know. So let's get into the first dilemma. So this dilemma says, Dear Yewande, I'm new to the job and already feel like I'm drowning. Everyone says it gets easier, but when? How do I make it through the early years? So a very, very valid dilemma, and one that I know that a lot of newly qualified social workers go through. So I guess this one's for you guys. I remember when I first became a newly qualified social worker, and I was in a team whereby it just felt like things were very, very busy. There was like experienced members of staff who were busy running around doing like all the complex work with children and families, and I half the time didn't know what I was doing. I didn't feel like I could approach them, and that's not to say that they weren't very helpful or approachable, but I could see like the realities of what was on the ground, and I didn't want to feel like I was disturbing them or like I was a burden to them. What I will say is that the first 1/2 years of your newly qualified year will be the most crucial time. That's where you lay the foundation of your social work career. That's where you learn your identity as a social worker. That's where you learn what your strengths are. That's where you are safely able to make mistakes. That's where you are observing good practice, poor practice. It's where you build your resilience. It's how you just learn to deal with things in a very safe and controlled and manageable environment. So your first year is always very, very crucial. The person who sent in the dilemma talks about feeling like they're drowning, and again, that is a feeling that I know all too well, not even in my newly qualified social work year, but also just in subsequent years beyond that, because we all know that social work is busy, and we all know that we deal with a lot of complex things. The feeling of drowning is familiar, but it's not something that we should have to endure within our social work career. We should not have to endure feeling like we are so overwhelmed and so stressed and feel that that's part and parcel of our job, because it's not really part and parcel. Yes, there are going to be days that are busier than others, but it shouldn't now become the new norm, because that's when mistakes get made. That's when you feel that's when it feels unsafe, and that's also what can lead to things such as burnout, or just not really having a great joy about the profession. So what I will say is that it does get easier. I can promise you that it does get easier, and there are different things that you can do to enable that to get easy for you, which I will go through now. What can you do to get through your early years? The first thing that you can do is start to establish really healthy habits. So start as you mean to go on. What are the things that you can lay down now that will follow you through in your social work career and that won't feel foreign later on down the line? So things such as being very organized, finding a stable routine for you as a social worker, I promise you will help you later on down the line. I know people talk about, calendars and notes and lists and to-do lists and all the rest of it, but honestly, they are such a healthy habit to have, because if you are organized, not only practically and physically will it help you, but mentally as well, it will help you to feel more balanced and help you to feel like you have a greater grip on what you're doing. You have more of a control on what it is that you are doing. Another thing that will help you is to find someone that you trust. So use your first couple of years as a time to build solid foundations, solid relationships with people that you know that you can trust in your time of need or in your time of crisis. So whether it's your manager, whether it's your colleagues, whether it is part of the workforce development team, whether it is colleagues in other parts of the service as well, utilize those people as your allies in your early years. Another thing that I always talk about is protecting your downtime. So making sure that the time that you have allotted to being in the office is a time for the office, and the time that you have allotted for being outside of home, that you keep that very, very boundaried and you remain boundaried with it. Something else to think about is also to make sure that you're raising issues sooner rather than later, and also being very aware of what is within your remit. Be very, very aware of what you're of how resilient you are, and what it is that you can tolerate and what it is that you can't tolerate. For a lot of us, we don't have, our boundaries are very just kind of all over the place. So then when situations happen, because we haven't established clear boundaries, it can make people react in a certain way, or it can make you react in a certain way, because you haven't been able to lay that this is the things that I will accept and these are the things that I won't accept. So in your early years, establish what your boundaries are. What are the things that you can tolerate as a social worker, and what are the things that you can't tolerate as a social worker? Whether it's things like your caseload amount, whether it's things like, you know, you're working overtime, whether it's things like the kind of referrals that you are going to deal with, or something like that. Something else that I think is very important to think about is holding on to really positive wins that you have. For a lot of us, when we start to, you know, go through the motions of being a social worker, and we've got our full caseload and things feel really busy and very overwhelming, and you'll feel like you're constantly firefighting. And I say all these from a children and families perspective. I know that a lot of you that might be watching might not be from a children and families background, but I feel like the fundamentals are still there. Is to celebrate your small wins, celebrate your big wins, and always make sure that you are not being too hard on yourself. So if you've done something really well, even if it might seem like it's the bare minimum, champion yourself and celebrate it. Don't just, you know, because it might seem like it's something that was trivial, or it might seem like something that, you know, oh, like, why are you giving yourself a pat on the back for that? Never let anybody downplay your achievements. Never let anybody rob you of your achievements, and never be the one to rob yourself of your achievements as well. So celebrating your small wins is also something that I would encourage as well. Something else that I feel will help you in that feeling of drowning, or that feeling of, you know, wondering, is it ever going to get easier, is starting to plan what you actually want to get out of being a social worker. Are you just working day by day with no clear plan of where you're moving, where you're going, what you want to do? Do you have a plan as to where you see yourself in 2 years time, 3 years time, 4 years time, 5 years time? And I know that a lot of people talk about that, and it can be like, oh, well, you know, I haven't really thought that far ahead, or I don't really know what I want to do, or I'm just gonna, you know, live for the here and now, and I'll fall into it when I get to there. I promise you, one of the biggest things I regretted was not having a solid plan and actionable steps to how I was going to get to that plan. So even now, 10 years in, I am so reflective of my early years, thinking I really wish I'd taken up that offer on doing a particular training. I really wish I'd taken up that offer about going back to university. I really wish I'd taken up that offer about, you know, specializing in something, because I remember, especially when I came out of, especially in my first 1/2 years, all that I had on my mind was I didn't want to go back to education. I didn't want to ever see a uni hall ever again. I don't ever want to have to look at a textbook, because I could not see beyond kind of where I came from and where I was at that point in time. So always be very intentional about where you are going, and make sure that every single opportunity that you take, whether it is a kind of referral that you are caseworking, whether it is a specific training that you've been referred to go on to, whether it is, you know, someone's observations of your practice, never take those for granted, because I promise you, you'll kick yourself years down the line and you'll be thinking that it was a missed opportunity. So always think ahead, what is it that I want to get out of my social work degree? I mean, if you want me to talk about that in another video as a sort of dilemma, then please send it in to the information that's in the description box. But yeah, something else that I always talk about is prioritizing your self-care, because that is the only way that you are going to find a balance when you are going through the motions of your social work degree. If you do not practice self-care, if you do not hold on to the things that bring you joy, as I always say, then that's a quick road to burnout, and that is a quick way to your early years just coming and going in vain. And that is the last thing that you want as a social worker. You don't want to have done, whether it's your master's or 3 years undergrad, you get to a point and it's all in vain, because you think, oh, I don't even want to do this anymore. I don't even think this is something that I want to carry on with. So always practice your self-care and be very, very intentional about it. Choose yourself and you'll see the rewards of it. Well, I hope that's answered that dilemma to the best of my abilities. I'm sure there is so much more that I could have shared, but let me know, how would you answer that dilemma? You know, if you are social worker with years and years worth of experience, and you're watching this video and you're thinking, I wish I knew this when I was a young baby social worker, or this is something that I feel like the new generation of social workers need to be aware about, then please do make sure that you leave it in the comment section below. I know that the people who watch this really benefit from the expertise, from the advice, from the comments, from the observations of us, seasoned social workers. So yeah, let's start a discussion in the comment section. As always, please do make sure that you like, comment and subscribe. Let me know if there are any other dilemmas that you want me to talk about, or any other things that you want me to really unpack in this Daily Dilemmas for Social Workers series. And I'll catch you in my next one. Bye.